So the PS5 finally arrived here in the UK, and we had to wait a whole week more than the States. And let me tell you, that was the longest week of my entire life. Seeing all those Americans on YouTube and Twitter with their nice new massive consoles was honestly so annoying. Sure, call me petty and say it's a first world problem, but I was excited, damn it. And when it finally arrived, I had this massive router looking next gen beast. There was only one game I could play first. Of course, that didn't quite go to plan, and I ended up playing a terrible game of Rocket League with friend of the channel, John. On a side note, he needs a much better internet connection. It's infuriating. However, with that terrible game out of the way, it was finally time to play Spider-Man Miles Morales, and well, spoiler alert, it's incredible. It's not quite perfect, however, so let's get into the Huntman Productions review of Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PS5. This is Games to You. Where better to start than with Miles himself, and well, he's brilliant. Nadji Jeter plays him with so much personality and likability that you can't help but smile from the very start of the game, and you simply won't stop until the end. This is one of those performances that is memorable and will stick with you. However, I do have one slight problem, not with the performance but with the character himself, because Miles is just too good. Basically, he's nice, and I don't mean a nice in the way of, yeah, this is a guy you could be mates with. I mean in a way that it's being damn right annoying. Not only is he Spider-Man, but he volunteers at a homeless shelter, as well as just helping random people on the street for no reason whatsoever. You just want him to have a slightly nasty streak, because at times it takes you out of the immersion. Now, I'm not going to tell you that a Spider-Man game is in any way realistic, but the characters still need to have a believable personality. Like, sometimes, surely you just say, "You're alright mate, help yourself for a minute, I need some me time." But nope, Miles is just Mr. Nice Guy all the time. Away from Miles, Ganke is a standout character here as your man in the chair, your voice in your ear, your eye in the sky, your tech guy. He's just great, and Griffin Puatu does a great job in voicing him. Shout out here, by the way, to a great moment when Ganke spills a load of guava sauce all over the rug. His reaction is actually perfect.
What was that?
All good. Little spill. Get it cleaned up real quick. All good. It's alright, man.
In terms of the other characters here, Miles' mum is just lovely in every way, whereas Troy Baker's Simon Krieger is played so expertly that you truly hate him instantly, and this only gets better as the game goes on. But the creme de la creme here is Jasmine Savoy Brown, who plays your childhood friend Finn. She is charismatic whilst also being serious, flirty whilst being distant, and above all else, her chemistry with Miles is simply perfect. The only other time in the last few years of gaming I've seen chemistry between two characters this good was Ellie and Dina in The Last of Us Part 2, and that right there is high praise indeed. Every time Finn was on screen with Miles, I either wanted to smile, laugh, or cry. And right there is the highest praise I can give it, because not only is this down to a great performance, but it's also amazing writing and something that will often be overlooked, because there's a couple of things this game does even better. New York City was masterfully realised back in 2018 when Spider-Man came out, and quite honestly, it's no different here. From Brooklyn to Harlem, from the Empire State Building to the Avengers Building, the city is simply incredible. This is honestly shown off best when you're simply swinging through the city, and holy crap, the web swinging in this game is perfect. I put it right up there with the Leviathan axe in God of War, and that is something I simply don't say lightly. as it's pretty much perfect. Sure, until you perfect it, you can mess up and swing into the side of a building, but once you got good at it, nothing can stop you traversing this incredible sandbox. Sure, for the most part, New York is the same as it was 2 years ago, minus the Chrysler Building because of copyright reasons, but they've actually improved it here. Now, I don't mean they've added things or made it better to run around or anything like that. No, they've improved the lighting. Now, this is best shown off during the fair in Harlem when your mum is about to go make a speech, because every light seems to bounce around and pop just perfectly. Hell, just swinging through the city, you'll suddenly get a moment when you just have to stop and take in the sunset for a few minutes, because this game really is stunning. When you get off the street and head inside, Miles Morales keeps on wowing, by the way. There was one scene in particular that really did get me during the sunset, and the lighting was reflecting off the marble floor in a way I just haven't seen in a game before. It was incredible. All of this helps when you finish the main story, by the way, because even without all the collectibles and all of the extra activities the game throws at you, just swinging through the city is something you will find yourself doing all the time without any destination whatsoever. One thing I praised 2018 Spider-Man for was its story, and this is something I have mixed thoughts about with Miles Morales. Now, I'm gonna try and be as spoiler-free as I can, but I will go into things shown off in the trailer, so here's your last warning. First of all, the game is all about Miles, meaning you need a reason to get Peter Parker out of the picture, and, well, the way Insomniac did it just didn't seem right at all. It would have been really nice if they'd thought of something like Pete getting injured and not being able to fight, leaving you to save the city, but instead, he goes on holiday.
Oh, man. Yeah, sorry. I've been meaning to tell you, I'm not gonna be around for the next few weeks.
Is this some kind of Pete joke I don't get?
No. MJ's headed overseas for the Bugle and requested me as her photographer. Kind of a working vacation for us.
Sure, I get it. Even Spider-Man needs a holiday sometimes, but surely he'd see the city that he lives in and protects is getting kind of terrorized and come home on the next flight, but nope, you don't hear of him at all. Take the trailer that was shown off during the PS5 event. One of the bridges gets blown up and suddenly has a hole in it, but Pete doesn't even call. Just seems a little bit weird for me. Away from that, the story is pretty solid, to be fair. The Underground are a decent outfit to fight, and their reasons for fighting are kind of interesting. Now, sure, they just want notoriety, which is just regular bad guy affair, but the Tinkerer is far more compelling. I won't go into specifics here, but trust me on this, the Tinkerer is one of the standouts of this game. Sure, being the bad guy means you need to beat them at all costs, but at the same time you also kind of agree with their motivations, and that makes for great conflict. There are times when Miles isn't entirely sure what to do, and to be honest, I actually felt the same. I was both for and against the Tinkerer at the same time, but in the end it's clear that the right thing to do is to stop them, because no matter what you feel, Spider-Man has a responsibility. The only other thing I can say about the story is the quieter moments with Miles and the people close to him. There is one scene in particular where you eat dinner with Miles' mum, Ganke and Finn, and quite honestly it's beautifully written and makes you really love every character. Of course, this game is all about a coming of age for Miles, and this is really shown off so well by Peter Parker being shown upside down, drinking a coffee at the very start of the game, only for Miles to do exactly the same at the end. Shout out, by the way, to Paul in work for bringing me a couple of coffees, you little legend. So this bit is very interesting because, well, not much has really changed since 2018, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Let's start with traversal, because That is what the first Spider-Man was famous for. I'm gonna be blunt here, nothing has changed. And that is not a bad thing at all, because in a game where web swinging was just about perfect, it is again here. When you swing through the city, you need to think about what you're doing, because you can't just hold R2. Instead, you have to let go at the right time to give yourself the most momentum and to make everything look cool. On top of this, you can also do some acrobatics, dive towards the ground for extra speed, and you have a web zip to get over those little gaps where buildings are not quite tall enough to get over a good swing with. Combat is similar to 2018, and that is also a pretty good thing. Everything is fast-paced and acrobatic, but also tactical at the same time. Now, I'm not saying this is like Dark Souls or anything like that, but you still need to be on your toes. The best comparison here is probably the Batman Arkham games, and that really is high praise indeed. Here, the combat is actually improved because of the venom powers that Miles has and the ability to go invisible, which opens up so many possibilities. Basically, if you're getting swamped by enemies, you can simply turn invisible and escape, or you can just simply electrocute them and give yourself the upper hand. This all goes to give you options, so it's not just get the bad guy in the air and beat the crap into him whilst dodging the guys with guns. It also adds to the spectacle of everything, as Venom abilities are, well, they're actually stunning. The lightning effects are some of the best I've ever seen in a game. In fact, they're so good, I'd often find myself just using the ability for no reason, just so I could see them. So I suppose the big question is, can I recommend Spider-Man Miles Morales? Well, yes, absolutely. This game is brilliant, but only if you've played the 2018 Spider-Man, because if not, then you aren't getting everything this game has. There are things mentioned throughout from the first game that really do add to the experience. On top of this, I have one major gripe with this game. To put it really bluntly, it's not worth £50 on its own, and I'm really not too happy that Sony are charging £70 for this and the remastered version of the 2018 Spider-Man. Sure, the game is fairly big and it's in the same city as the original and should really be about £30 on its own, similar to Uncharted Lost Legacy. I get how this is a PS5 launch game, and that means you're gonna pay a premium, but those prices are a little bit crazy. With that out of the way, if you do buy this game, you're buying a top quality experience, and in my opinion, the best launch game that PlayStation has ever had. It's beautiful, fun, and funny, and everything else in between. It might not end up being my game of the year, but it'll certainly be up there. Spider-Man Miles Morales has got my absolute recommendation on both the PS4 and PS5. You won't stop having fun the entire time you play, and this game has made me more excited for a proper Spider-Man 2 in the future, and that's the highest praise that I can give this game. Insomniac are onto something really special with this series, and in 2022 or 23, when the next one comes out, we really could have a Game of the Year contender on our hands. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out when that happens, and I'll see you next time.